You know, it's a shame that Don Harold, who used to have a YouTube channel, is currently no longer YouTubing. I don't know what happened to his channel, but I used to love his channel because he used to give hard-hitting analysis of stocks and the housing market. So basically, I was looking online, and Yahoo had this news story: cities with the most abandoned homes. And as it occurs, abandoned homes are increasing. Foreclosures are increasing. Most of this is going on silently. As some of you who pay attention know, and as some homeowners know, the government is reducing quantitative easing. And part of the reason why is because they've tried to hold interest rates at all-time lows artificially for far too long. Like when I was a kid in 1981, I had money in a bank account that was put there by my grandparents and whatnot, and I was collecting about 10% interest, and this was around 1981. Now I don't remember if they gave a special interest rate because it was called Republic National Bank. That bank no longer exists. I believe now it's been taken over by Norfolk or Capital One. But anyway, we were collecting 10% interest. I was collecting 10% interest, and it was like you could actually see your money growing. Now I'm just pissed off. I'm looking at bank accounts that I have, and I've got over $100,000 that's collecting fucking pennies compared to what I was collecting when I was a kid. I'm not putting all of my money in the stock market because right now I see that recession part 2 is coming. They're saying that 1 in 5 homes in foreclosures process stands vacant after being abandoned by homeowners. If y'all remember, because I have a very, very good memory, that's why it's like a lot of things I can quote right off the top of my head. I remember here in New York, people were abandoning their boats and people were abandoning their houses. In fact, one of my clients, one time she had a house, she had a mortgage that had dual mortgages. What they did was they sold this woman the house. Now here you got this poor woman who doesn't realize she can't afford a house. This woman, they sell her a mortgage. The first part of the mortgage was $550,000. The second part was $75,000. This woman was a fucking daycare center worker, and her husband was working as a park ranger. Now what happened was they obviously started falling behind in the mortgage because they were supposed to be paying like $3,600 a month, and I believe that the interest rate hadn't yet gotten ready to adjust. So they were supposed to pay this, and they had a couple of dollars saved up, and the bank said, "Hey, guess what? If you give us $5,000, what we'll do is we won't foreclose on you right away. What we'll do is we'll give you a couple of months." And I told this woman, I said, "Listen, first of all, you should have never had a mortgage like this in the first place. What you need to do is walk away from that property and take the money that you have. And, you know, since one of your credits is obviously fucked up after this, what you need to do is you need to go save that money and use the other person's credit, like whether it was hers or his, I don't even remember. But what you need to do is take that money, you need to straighten you guys selves out, and you need to buy another house." She listened to me, and now she actually owns a house that doesn't have some crazy mortgage attached to it because the subprime loan crisis was just ridiculous. Unfortunately, we're going through the exact same bubble pump now. They're pumping up this bubble again. Now, this time, not only is it the house market really, the bubble is somewhat in the house market because you're dealing with a lot of people. Because the problem is, if you're going to get a mortgage for 30 years, a 30-year fixed mortgage being probably the best mortgage option you have, how are the people who are underlining you for a mortgage like that, how can they be certain you're going to have a job for 30 years? So, you know, you hear talks about the American economy roaring back and whatnot, but the jobs that are coming are not paying the same thing as the jobs that have been lost because a lot of those jobs have been outsourced to India and China and whatnot. But the scary thing about it is we've got student loans at over $1 trillion at this point. They're saying Wichita, Kansas is number 5, Birmingham, Hoover, Alabama, St. Louis, Jacksonville, Florida, and number 1 is Indianapolis. So basically, we're talking about people who are so screwed that they can't even pay median home prices of $155,000. So you're saying the average person has a house that's less than $175,000, and we're so fucked right now until we can't even pay it. Well, most of you will already agree with me that we should be blaming the Federal Reserve for this. I mean, the mere fact that these interest rates are where they are, it's obvious that they're doing that so that they can make the national debt serviceable, for one. And the other problem is a lot of the states have done what they could to keep people in their houses paying whatever they could pay, simply because if people start abandoning their houses, what will eventually happen is they won't be collecting property taxes. And if the state's not collecting property taxes, yeah, those people who've abandoned their houses for apartments don't give a fuck. The problem is if the state can't quickly turn around and short sell those houses off, well, you've got a lot of property taxes not being collected, and then what do they have to do? They have to start laying off social services in the suburbs, police, firemen, teachers, this, that, and the other. Ultimately, I hate to ramble, and I know a lot of people, accuse me of rambling, but ultimately, this country's problems begin with jobs. If they can't give you a mortgage for 30 years because they don't know if you're going to have your job in 30 years, then we've got a bigger problem than you could imagine. And this country's entire economy revolves around housing. When you have a house, it drives spending because you have to go out and buy things. You got to go buy curtains, you got to go buy plumbing, you got to go buy wood, you got to go buy tools, you got to go buy anything you can think of that goes into a house. So if you don't have a house, the entire economy starts to fall apart. And if we don't have housing driving this, Americans, their first major investment is their house. After that comes their car. The car market right now is on fire because a lot of rich people are not investing in housing anymore. But the car market's on fire. And it's like they'd rather give you a new car than to give you a used one. But it's all examples of bad behavior, And it's sad that the government is going about it this way in order to keep the ball rolling. But ultimately, my suggestion to you is you save as much cash as you possibly can. Because ultimately you save your cash, you save it in a bank. Some people are saving gold. Yeah, gold is good too, but nobody can really afford to buy into that anymore. I don't suggest you go into stocks until after or during the crash, because during the crash I was able to buy into Ford at pennies on the dollar. I bought into Ford at less than $1.72. And, right now stocks are an unsafe gamble. And if you've got 401ks, I don't even know what to tell you. I hope you have protections on your I really hope you have protections on your retirements, because I know a lot of people got fucked and lost $40,000 in some cases from their 401ks. I've been fortunate because most of my money I don't invest. I actually keep it as cash, and I gamble with a very small part of it. But I hate to be a pessimist, but you need to prepare for the worst. Get yourself prepared for the worst. It's coming. I don't know how long until it gets here, but if you prepare for the worst, you'll also be prepared if good things happen. So just get yourselves ready. That's all I can say.